Good morning. I'm meteorologist Kevin Smith at the National Weather Service in Pocatello. This is your Southeast Idaho weather hazard briefing for Friday, April 26, 2019. Start out with our regional radar loop across the region. Already have some shower and thunderstorm activity out there. You can see the main area of that activity has been pushing from the Interstate 15 corridor off to the east here, now approaching the Wyoming border. And some of these thunderstorms overnight did produce some hail up in the Bellevue area and also some gusty winds out across the Snake Plain. You can see on the heels of that some additional light showers and a few isolated thunderstorms starting to develop back here toward the Magic Valley and elsewhere across the region. So this is going to be the flavor of the morning across the region. We do have a cold front that's approaching, or more of a cool front, I should say, not really that strong in terms of colder air. But we do have a front that's going to approach the area during the afternoon and evening hours, and I think that's when we're going to see a little bit better chance of some thunderstorms across the region. And we'll take a look at all of that in just a moment. Two main weather hazards we're going to want to watch out for today. The first is going to be winds across the region, and the second will be those thunderstorms. So we'll start out with the winds. We've gone ahead and upgraded portions of our high wind watch. We went with a high wind warning here in the darker shading, the brown-orange shading here across the Arco and Mud Lake Desert area and also into the Snake Plain, portions of the I-15 corridor, including Idaho Falls and Pocatello. And then back into the eastern Magic Valley, down into Cassia County, Raft River region, and also into the mountains and highlands just to the south and east of Pocatello. We have issued a wind advisory, and these products are in effect from noon until 8 p.m. this evening. In the warning area, generally expecting sustained winds on the order of 30 to 40 miles per hour. Those will be out of the west or southwest, and then gusts of 45 to 55 miles per hour will be possible across this area. A little bit lower in the advisory areas, but still quite notable. 25 to 35 miles per hour sustained, with gusts on the order of 40 to 50 miles per hour here in the advisory areas. And we'll actually see very similar values across the rest of the region as you get up to peaks and ridge lines in our various mountain ranges. Here's kind of a representation of some of those highest wind gusts that we're expecting this afternoon and this evening. You can see that the highest activity here is expected right in that warning area. For most locations, if you want to get technical about the numbers, we're really looking at high-end advisory, very low-end warning numbers with our forecast here for our wind speeds. But there's a couple impact-based nudge factors, if you will, that we took into consideration for our products this morning. The first is the west to southwest wind flow is going to be a very favorable trajectory for strong crosswinds on some of our highways in the warning area. So places like US 20 and US 26 out across the Arco and Mud Lake Desert area, Idaho Highway 33 up here in the Mud Lake area, also Idaho 39 down here through the Aberdeen area, and also I-15, particularly to the north of Idaho Falls. We're expecting some pretty good crosswinds across these highways, and that's going to make it difficult for driving high-profile vehicles and also some of the larger lightweight vehicles. Really going to see some issues with those winds today. The second factor that we looked at, a lot of our agricultural fields are going to be dry right at the surface today, and most of them aren't planted yet. So we really think there's a notable blowing dust risk out there. And some of our normal trouble spots, like areas just to the north of Idaho Falls along I-15, this may very well be one of those days where we'll have to watch out for really low visibilities in those blowing dust areas and maybe even a couple road closures based on the wind speeds that we are forecasting. So with those two impact factors taken into consideration and looking at our forecast numbers, we decided to go with the warning for our highest wind speeds here in the Snake Plain. So that's the wind story. Let's take a look at the thunderstorm risk today. So this is the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center, and this lighter green shading is a risk of general thunderstorms, and that covers the majority of our area, maybe a little less so along the western edge here. And we are shaded in for a marginal risk of severe thunderstorms during the afternoon and evening hours as you get down here into the Bear Lake area. So really what I think is going to happen, anywhere from about the Teton Valley down across the Caribou Highlands and Blackfoot Mountains, the Bear Lake region, into the south central highlands, pretty much to the south and east of the Snake Plain. This will be the area where we'll have the greatest chance for a stronger cell or two to reach severe criteria, maybe a couple isolated severe storms this afternoon. Primary risk with those is going to be damaging winds over 60 miles an hour. It's not going to take much for these thunderstorms to mix down those strong winds aloft that are going to be affecting the region today. May also see some larger hail, possibly reaching quarter size with a few of the strongest cores across this region. Elsewhere across the area, again, chance of thunderstorms. We did add mention of gusty winds, some smaller hail, also frequent lightning into the forecast for today. Instability certainly supports some really robust thunderstorm updrafts out there, so it's looking pretty favorable. And we do have some wind shear in the environment, and generally that helps to organize the storms and increase longevity and intensity of the thunderstorms. That is assuming this afternoon that the strong winds don't actually rip apart some of those updrafts with the initial thunderstorm development. And I think we certainly will see some of those thunderstorms come to fruition today. So let's switch gears here for a second. I'm going to bring in one of our many computer models. And this particular model has a somewhat reasonable scenario, what we think is going to happen today. Again, I'll caution you, don't focus too closely on the exact placement of any individual shower or storm, but this should give you kind of a big picture idea. So this particular model picked up pretty well on the activity that we saw early this morning come through Bellevue and then across the Arco Desert. That activity is moving off toward the Wyoming border as we kick off at 5 a.m. here. As we start stepping forward, few additional showers and storms this morning, particularly into the mid to late morning hours, and then we may see just a little bit of a lull here. This is the noon projection, maybe a little bit of a relative lull in activity across the region for the very late morning into the very early afternoon before we see redevelopment during the afternoon hours here. With that cold front, that cool front moving into the area. So you can see down here in the southeast, the area we just talked about for possibly a stronger or severe thunderstorm, seeing that development. Also seeing some good development up here in the upper Snake Highlands, up toward West Yellowstone, Island Park, maybe the Teton Valley. Not seeing a ton of activity in the Snake Plain, but I certainly don't want to rule it out. We may see a shower or thunderstorm just about anywhere across the forecast area over the course of the day. That activity all quickly moves off to the east and diminishes as we go into the evening, and we are expecting dry weather from tonight into Saturday. High temperatures today approaching 70 degrees at lower elevations here in the Snake Plain, getting up into the 50s and 60s elsewhere. Certainly some good warm temperatures out there to fuel a few of those thunderstorms. Now, Saturday, temperatures backing off just a few degrees, not expecting a huge cool down behind that. Again, I call it a cool front versus a cold front. We'll back off just a few degrees across the region. Dry weather expected tonight into Saturday and Saturday evening across the region. May see another windy day. So this is a projection of some of our afternoon and evening wind gusts on Saturday. May see a little bit bigger impact up here into the upper Snake Highlands, the Island Park area, Clark County, also in the Central Mountains, and then certainly, again, windy across the Snake Plain. Certainly maybe another day we may have to consider some wind advisory products across the region, and we'll be looking at that over the next 24 hours. High temperatures take a nosedive compared to what we see on Saturday as we go into the day on Sunday. Expecting another front, more of a cold front, to cross the region Sunday morning. You can see those temperatures dropping 10 to 15 degrees for highs across the region for Sunday. That cooler weather expected to linger from Sunday into Monday and Tuesday as we kick off the new week. And we may not see widespread precipitation again until Tuesday. We may see a light shower here in the northern central mountains or up along the Montana border, upper Snake Highlands, maybe even down here into the Caribou Highlands Saturday night and Sunday morning, and maybe a few lingering showers on Monday, but for the most part, not expecting any widespread or heavy precipitation over the next few days once we get past our thunderstorm threat this afternoon. Last but not least, we certainly continue to see some hydro issues out there with a little bit of flooding. If you go to our website here, this is weather.gov/Pocatello, and scroll down on our main homepage. This is our point-and-click forecast map, and you can see quite a bit of green shading here. It's a great place to go and check up on where we have flood warnings and flood advisories in effect. And right now, flood warnings continue for the Bigwood River in the Haley area, also the Portneuf River in Pocatello. We also have 3 flood advisories out, and those are for the Blackfoot River above Blackfoot Reservoir, that's up in Caribou County, the Snake River near Manan in Jefferson County, and also an advisory for Willow Creek below Tex Creek, that's near Ryrie in Bonneville County, and those are all reflected on the map here. Another great feature, you can kind of follow along with us a little bit on how these rivers are doing if you come up to the Rivers and Lakes link here toward the top of the page and click on the River Observations map. And if you click there, that'll bring up all of our river gauges and our hydrographs across the region. All of these dots that appear here on the map across southeast Idaho are locations where we either have river gauge data and or a forecast in place. And you can mouse over these or click on these and access the latest river stages on the rivers and creeks, and in some cases also the forecast over the next several days, and see when some of these rivers are going to move into or out of flood stage based on our latest forecasts. So another great resource for you off of our homepage at weather.gov/Pocatello. I think we'll take the edge off a little bit of our runoff as we go into the upcoming week with those cooler temperatures Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. But we're certainly in the season where we'll continue to see some flood concerns and high flows on waterways across our region. That's it for your hazard briefing this morning. If you have any questions for us, please reach out and have a great day.